what to say now, Jeremiah. The camera's on. No, it's not. We're live, and I've lost all words.
That's it. No, that's me. That's me every time.
I always feel like I'm forgetting something as soon as we go live.
Okay, there we go.
Will you see us?
Yes.
Oh, man. Wait till they see my outfit. At least I have matching socks on. Have you seen that gecko guy?
Gecko guy?
Yeah, he does gecko Twitch streaming. Like
Oh,
full
yes.
gecko.
Yeah, I've
he just
seen
had
him, yeah.
Dr. Drew on there or someone
Oh, yeah?
who also wore a gecko costume.
For real? Huh.
For real.
Wow.
So, I mean, hey,
you
you
know,
do something niche
Find something
enough.
that works, yeah.
Yeah, go with it.
Right?
All right, let's get into it. Let me start the camera. And there we are. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Zero Intentions Podcast. I'm Kyle. This is Jeremiah. As you all know, we've made it extremely big. Big enough where I can wear pajamas.
Got comfy.
Yeah.
This is the pajama stream.
Pajama stream.
I didn't get the memo.
Jeremiah
so.
sleeps in his jeans. You guys didn't know?
I do, yeah.
I used to like it as a kid.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
I enjoy, like everyone said
Put
it was
on a
crazy.
coat. Yep,
Ooh,
and
no
everything.
coat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
No, I would sleep shirtless in jeans, like on the couch. Like if I was over
okay.
at someone's house or
Yeah.
like a family member, I
Huh.
didn't see the need to change. I was like, I'll just fall asleep. But that young, you're just wearing yourself out completely. So
Yeah.
like, now you have to like think and try and go to bed. As a kid, you're just like, yeah.
Right?
And
yeah.
wake up and do it
It's
again.
that unplanned unconsciousness. Yeah.
Right. And that
Right.
was great.
Yeah.
And I think
Those are great sleeps, though. You know,
that's what
'cause
I
you
like about.
Didn't realize how tired you were. So.
That's kind of how I feel about drinking. There's a level where I don't get crazy drunk, but there's a level where I can like push one more and just go to sleep. Not black out. It's just like, well, now I can just
getting sleepy.
now I can just pass out. And it's nice to get there, but I'm too old now. The mornings are not so nice
Oh yeah.
after drinking.
Yeah, that's the
problem
thing. You
with
know, being
alcohol.
allergic to alcohol, I've never experienced that. So, yeah.
We'll have you do a shot. I'll hit you with an EpiPen. Do a shot. I'll hit you with an EpiPen. Just
Right.
mix it all up in your system.
There you go. Except they're very expensive, unfortunately, right?
I don't know. I mean,
Aren't
what
they?
about Daddy Cuban? Mark Cuban, isn't he making
Oh,
that
isn't
stuff?
he? Yeah, I think I saw something about that.
I've read
yeah.
that he's actually not all medications are on there yet, but he's
Oh, yeah?
doing better.
Huh.
It says, I mean, I saw mixed reviews. Some people were like they're happy he's doing it, and some people was like he shouldn't have to.
It's true. He shouldn't have to, but
And they're
you
saying,
know,
but the fact that
they're not going to fix the
No,
pharmaceutical industry in it anytime soon.
that's
like-
I always wondered that with Tom Holland brought it up. He wants to buy a bunch of housing and just make it ridiculously cheap. And I always wondered why millionaires don't do it because you can still make a ton of money.
Right.
Like Frankie
It's one of those
Muniz did
things.
it
Like
for
I said,
parking.
you know, you get a certain level of, you know, being rich, and you don't want to give any of that up. Like,
Yeah.
it becomes a point of pride to be like, this is where I stand on the list. Like I'm, you
Right.
know, I'm number 1 or I'm number 15 or whatever it is. It's like you don't want to slip down. It's like leaderboard.
Right.
So you
That was-
can't do things like that. You can't just start giving money away.
See, it's not even, to me, it's not even, I always thought, like, if I was really rich, open a gas station and basically sell even. Like, you're just breaking even. The company maybe makes
Yeah.
a few bucks, but you're going to sell way more. Like, if you came out, and I've heard it's hard in gas, because a lot of people will be very mad.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of people, if you come out and you're like,
Right.
yeah, mine's $2.50, mine's $2.20.
Right.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. You'd find your gas station torched.
Yeah, a lot of people
Absolutely.
get really mad.
Yep.
So that's actually the reason dealerships exist. Back in the day, you would buy small dealerships would buy from a manufacturer and then sell. There was no like full-on dealership, so prices were all over the place. There was no centralization, so can't have that.
Right.
Someone needs control.
Yep.
All right, let's get into the topic. I want to make people mad right away.
Okay.
This
All
will-
right. I'm ready.
We'll get in. It's not going to make people mad, the topic, but we'll probably get into it. So as you know, if
So
you're
you're getting one of my trigger topics. Is what you're.
I don't know.
saying,
We'll
huh?
see.
Oh, okay.
If you've watched before, you know we're big into conspiracies, or at least talking about them.
Yeah.
So I've got one, and I
Okay.
want to know, it's just more of a jumping off point. Why do you think there are conspiracy theorists that just fully say the Holocaust didn't happen?
That's a weird one to me.
To
It
me,
really
I
is.
just don't see where they're coming from.
Honestly, I put that on the same level as flat earthers. Okay, so here's the thing. You have so many conspiracies that like have so much evidence
Yeah.
that you'd be like, there's a good chance that this is real.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's something like that with like no evidence, but I believe it.
The
You
only
know?
thing I
So-
could think, right? So, me in middle school learning about the Holocaust, you
Mhm.
could be like, I don't think that happened. But you don't know.
It's hard to believe. Here's the thing.
exactly
The
what I'm
reason it's
saying.
hard to believe because you don't want to believe that, humans can be that evil.
And it's not
So-
even that. I know humans can be, but if you're just you have no other information, someone just tells you that, it sounds so large of a scale that you're like, that
Yeah.
can't possibly have happened. But then when you get to in adult life where there's books, there's survivors, there's museums that actually have photos, there's
Mhm.
documentation. How?
Right.
I get most conspiracies. I can wrap my head around flat Earth. I can't. It's just one of those ones I can. But
Yeah.
most of them I can look at and be like, you have a point. You're either right or wrong. But the
Mhm.
Holocaust one, I can't get behind it at all.
I wonder, like, so I guess there's scales, like levels to that. Like, are you talking about people that don't believe it was 6 million, or people that don't believe it happened at all?
Oh, there's differences? Assuming.
Yeah.
Let's go with. Well, I could get behind the people that say it's not 6 million. It's going to be impossible to nail down a number because someone goes, it's not 6 million, it was 4 million. Like what are you arguing for
Sure.
at this point?
Yeah.
Let's go with the people that just don't believe it at
Yeah.
all.
Because I don't honestly, I don't know what the evidence is or the proof of where they got the 6 million
The
from.
number, right.
If it came from, basically population count prior to
That's what you
the
would
war
have to
versus
do.
after.
Is you could probably get
So-
records for the camps, maybe the numbers.
Sure.
But
I mean, like, here's the thing. Like, I don't, like, if you're committing atrocities like that, I would think that you wouldn't want to keep an accurate record of how many people you're killing.
I think the opposite.
Yeah?
I think the Nazi Party in general was deranged. They
Sure.
wanted.
Oh, absolutely. And
They
that's the
loved
thing.
data.
They believed they were doing the right thing, which is insane, but that was their mindset. So they're like, we're making the world a better place by, killing people. So
For me, and we'll just jump off into other things. I don't get the concentration camps
mhm.
at full scale. I get wanting to, if you want to get rid of the Jewish people completely, but they weren't just killing them. They're doing weird stuff.
Sure.
I get the experiments. I mean, as bad as it was, we've gained so much knowledge from Nazi experiments, Nazi rocket science.
Yeah.
Everything is based off what the Nazis learned in a short period of time. I just don't get the concentration camps total. Like, you want experiments, you can take,
Sure. Like,
You
what's the purpose of holding them here? Is that what you're saying?
right, exactly.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, at the top, what are they thinking? They're not gaining anything.
Sure.
Even the labor camps, the labor's very down. I mean, you're starving these people. It's not great work you're getting. You're forcing people. Now, I get that they're pulling
it
people.
could have been a mixture between, the people in charge, not wanting to, believe that they're going to go, all the way with this.
Oh.
And you're like, well, we'll just, see how things shake
We
out
don't wanna kill
politically, but it
Okay.
could be something like that. Could be like, German public is aware to a certain extent that, these people are here. So, we can't just off them and be like,
Right.
hey, they're gone.
If you're watching and you know more about this, clearly we do not know.
No,
there may be a
unfortunately,
documented reason for it.
Sure. Yeah,
But if
unfortunately,
you
I'm
know,
not,
go ahead and jump in.
I'm not very knowledgeable on all the details. So it's one of those topics that, I don't really like
I don't like
researching
because
it's like the more I do,
the worse it gets.
yeah, exactly. Like, I feel, too emotional. Like I get like,
It's
I
rough.
get, obviously, sad, angry, murderous rage. I mean, like all that
And
stuff.
confused. It's
Yeah,
just
mhm.
confusing to try and wrap your head around how it could happen.
Right.
It's crazy.
But I mean, here's the thing. Like, you've had people, like canceled recently who have, basically like sounded the warning bells. Like, these are the steps that got mankind to that place.
right.
Like, we're following in the footsteps of, it just doesn't, there's not a switch. It just doesn't happen.
Oh,
Boom,
yeah.
there it is.
Yeah, over there. Yeah. There was,
Yeah.
it was not long period of time, but it was long enough
Mm-hmm.
for that to happen. And I would think in today's world, it was much easier back then to get there than now. You couldn't just call your neighbors or get online and be like, hey.
Well, I do know that the reason that it happened, in a quicker timeline than it normally would have is because of the state of Germany after World War I.
Exactly. There's a lot of factors.
Mm-hmm.
And it was much easier when there's no communication and no advanced weapons to fight back. To move into one city, it's yours. Move into there's no... Now, if any organization, our own government or anyone, took over even one whole state, it's not going to get much farther.
Right.
Because before you've even taken over the whole state, everyone else knows what's going on, and there's going to be a war.
Right.
Whereas in all the other world wars, someone could land on the coast of California, and most of the population in New York have no idea there's a battle going on over there. You have no idea until they're knocking on your door. Mm-hmm. That's a conspiracy theorist, though, that I just don't understand. The flat Earth, definitely don't understand.
Right.
The dinosaurs, don't get that one either.
That they didn't exist?
Yep, don't get that one.
I love the one that people claim that, oh yeah, dinosaur bones exist because they were planted by Satan to test the faith of Christians.
I watched
what?
I watched the Bill Nye documentary on Netflix. It's pretty good. It was weird to see it fully. Have you seen it?
No.
It was
is a particular one? I haven't watched any Bill Nye documentaries.
It's new.
Oh yeah? No.
But the stance they took, I thought it was going to be all about Bill Nye. It turned out to kind of be Bill Nye, half Bill Nye's past and present, and the other half was him fighting one specific guy on science versus religion.
Oh yeah?
Which is super weird.
I do remember that whole...
That battle?
Yeah.
So what I want to say is that guy that he was fighting, the guy that created the Ark down south.
Yeah.
That guy believes dinosaurs were on the Ark. Where do you stand on that? Do you think dinosaurs were just chilling out in those times?
So, I mean, I'm one of those people that like think there is an overlap. Like, I don't think that it was like millions of years between dinosaurs and humans.
Well, I could see advanced humans never meeting like our full, like I could see cavemen or whatever you want to say, or Neanderthals meeting them. But do you think they were on the Ark and came? I just can't see you putting dinosaurs on the Ark.
My theory with that is that, as we see with different species of animals, like there is like, people talking about like, well, every species of animal couldn't fit on the Ark. That's every species of animal we have today.
Right.
So not accounting for common ancestors. So we see that dogs all come from a common ancestor.
Right. So not even getting into that, I just want to, because we talked about that last podcast. Do you think dinosaurs were on the Ark?
So as like the giant ones that no, because here's the thing. So, I think that well, I mean, here's the thing. So like there's this change after the flood, like the environment, but on the Ark, I think that like I said, there's well, I mean, I guess because that's a good question. I mean,
I'm wondering where you sit on it. Yeah. He believes there was full dinosaurs.
Full grown? I wouldn't put a full grown one on there. No.
I just don't think. To me, I don't know for sure the whole history of the Ark. Mm-hmm. And science basically proves it did exist. The flood definitely happened. Mm-hmm. We found wood that would have dated to the Ark. I just don't see dinosaurs being on it. I just don't see it physically possible. I could see
I wouldn't put a full-grown brontosaurus on there. Are you kidding me?
Right. So that's what made me like immediately. That's the thing. This guy, even if he had good points for the religious community, you're just like losing validity. And I don't know. Yeah. I think Bill Nye doesn't fully reject religion. I think it's weird if you're a scientist to fully reject something.
Exactly.
And
that's definitely my perspective on it. Like a true scientist rejects nothing.
Right.
So.
And I believe, and I always, in school, they always argued back and forth science versus religion. There was kids in my class arguing in science. I'm like, why can't there be both, man?
Yeah.
They're not.
There is a lot of overlap. They support each other.
Yeah, one doesn't say that it's not. The Bible never says reject science.
Right.
And science shouldn't say reject religion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that, either perspective of completely denying the other is is ignorance, really. I mean,
I
because, if for religion to reject science, is ignorance to the fact that, creation is miraculous. Like it's intricate. There's reason and rules behind existence.
see. I even think you
Whereas
could.
science to reject religion assumes that everything.
Right.
Like there is no possible scenario outside of what I know that can exist, and then it becomes religion.
Oh
So,
yeah. Science becomes its own.
Yeah.
Yeah. That thing you're saying science should never reject is what made me lose faith in Neil deGrasse Tyson,
Yeah.
because he's come out twice now. One hot take he had was he just says religion's absolutely not possible, but then when asked about gravity, we don't understand gravity. He's just saying it exists.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's weird that you're accepting that as a truth,
Right.
and we
You
can't
can't
prove
explain it. You can only explain effects of it.
Right.
You can't explain why it exists or why it operates the way it does.
And the other
So
one
you're
he
missing
said,
a piece.
Yes.
You're missing a piece that allows you to fully understand that. And yet you'd be like, well, it's a fact. It's like,
That's what he said.
It's not a fact because you just explained that you don't understand it.
Right.
It's not a fact. You just have, it's literally just like, this is the evidence that we have of it. So
that was that. And the other one was he said there's absolutely no way possible that there's life outside of Earth. And
because he's been everywhere.
That as a scientist is
simultaneously.
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing that you could even say. I don't think anyone, the only person I've ever heard say that is my grandma, who's super religious. I was like, Grandma, that's just naive thinking. I said, nowhere in the Bible does it say there's no life anywhere else.
Right.
And I was trying to argue, my sister was recording it for internet points on her Snapchat or whatever, so
no.
I could probably pull them up. But I was telling her, I was like, you're rejecting the fact that there's even bugs or any micro. I'm not saying there's full-grown civilizations out there.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Right.
And then my stepmom jumped in and she was like, well, God made bugs. And I was like, I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying they could be on other planets.
Sure.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to open it up.
And again, like I said, like the point you made, religion doesn't contradict that possibility.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
All right, that was my jumping off. We got some hot takes there.
You go real deep into those. Yeah.
You can.
So,
I mean, and we talked about probably in the early podcast, anything with conspiracies, when you leave too much unknown, you could dive into it forever.
Oh, yeah.
And talk in circles for hours, and you're never going to reach a conclusion.
No, of course not.
No conclusion.
There's no conclusion to be had. Yeah. Yep. That's why it's a conspiracy theory and not fact. So,
right.
Yeah.
I saw a chart. It was almost like a pyramid of conspiracies, like some that are almost 100% true and then going off. And it was pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I think Bigfoot was in like the third tier. Like of not like 9/11 was in the first. UFOs, aliens, those are all in like, they hold a lot of water. There's a lot of questions about it. And then the next tier would be some of the government things, like trying to think of what they were, like the CIA killing people.
You've mentioned this before, and it's one of those things, especially with like world leaders and that there's a weird like a double like feeling or double explanation in that these people that are utterly incompetent are also massively intelligent to control and manipulate things.
Right.
It's like, honestly, like, Occam's razor here, like, it is far more believable that they are incredibly incompetent. So none of this stuff is like, well, I'm sure there's stuff that they're doing on purpose, but the majority of it, no, it's just because they're incredibly stupid.
Right.
And just have bad ideas.
Which, I mean, anyone in massive power, like, that's going to be hard. I can't pick out a single person I know or have heard of that I'd be like, yeah, you can handle all this. You got it, man.
Yeah.
It's way too hard.
Right.
Way too hard, and you have to rely on, and I'm not going to bash anyone, but I remember when Obama was running, he hated the CIA spying on people because it was right after Snowden came out. And then he gets the presidency, and they explain to him, and I don't know what was said behind closed doors, but they explain to him, hey, this is what we use it for. It's helping. And then he just goes with it.
Yeah.
Because you just have to trust the people that are telling you, like, trust me, this is good.
Right.
We want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
So it's got to be
Yeah.
hard. You get in there,
I know you think it's evil, but it has some good applications.
right?
It's mostly evil, but it can be used for good. I'm like,
Right.
okay, I guess we'll keep it.
Right. And that's what's got to be so hard. And it's like being an uber celebrity. No, you're just everyone's yes manning you.
Yeah.
You have no idea who to believe. You've got you get in as a politician, and you've got people with PhDs, people with wartime, and they're telling you these things, and it's like, well, I was just a senator.
Sure.
Do I know more than them?
Exactly. They're the expert in their field. I'm not. Yeah.
I have to trust them.
Yeah. I was just having this conversation earlier today about work and how, I have to trust other people's work or double the work by doing it again myself.
Right.
So, and basically wasting, company
Exactly.
resources because I don't trust that they did it correctly.
I had to do that, and I didn't trust.
Yeah.
And I was correct.
There's a time for that. Like if you have evidence that like, hey, these
Something
doesn't
could be
make
wrong.
sense.
Yeah.
Like nothing is working. Like I need to look into this. In that scenario, yeah, it's worth the time. But if you're just saying like everything they give me, I'm going to doubt and then do it again
Right.
only to find out that I get the same result, it's a waste of time.
See, it makes sense. So you do have to rely on any job. You have to rely on the guy before you.
Mhm.
I mean, even when I was at the gas station, you got to rely that night shift stocked things properly. I
Mm-hmm.
can't go and double check everything.
Right.
But if you do check it a few times and it's always wrong, you shouldn't bring it upon yourself to keep doing that. You need to fix the problem.
Right.
You need to be able to rely on your coworkers
Right.
and the chain.
Yeah.
That's like if you're on a assembly line for a car and the guy before you is always doing it wrong, you don't have time to fix his work and then do yours.
Right.
It's going to cause issues there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah. Or you got anything?
Well, I was going to say, like, tying into the whole, like, shadow control thing, I actually just watched The King's Man today. I had missed it. I didn't watch it.
Never heard of that.
So it's basically a prequel to the Kingsman movies.
Oh, yeah.
But basically it's about this, shadow organization that is, manipulating governments into World War One. So.
Oh, so it's way prequel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was it good?
Not as good as the other two. So
Kingsman, what are they rated? Is that a kid's?
no, very violent.
Yeah, it's violent, but
Isn't
it a younger cast, right?
Well,
The
I mean,
main-
like it's Taron Egerton's in it, right? Isn't he? I think he is.
I
That's
don't
what it
remember.
is.
Was
But-
Kevin Spacey in that first one? Or am I confusing him with someone else? Who was the leader? Who was the guy training the younger guy?
I want to say it was Ralph Fiennes. It was in this one, but
The Kingsman. Oh, it's Kingsman 3, The Kingsman. Oh yeah, what's that guy's name? Okay, so they're not as young as I thought they were. Colin Firth, Samuel Jackson, Taron Egerton, Michael Caine. Why was I confusing him with Kevin Spacey?
That's a huge error.
Yeah. No, this guy I was confusing with Kevin Spacey in the middle. I don't know who that is.
Ah, okay, yeah.
I have to be honest. I really liked Kevin Spacey as an actor.
I
thought he was really good.
It was sad to lose him.
It was.
But that's the thing, like, people in their private lives are terrible people. So
Right. Oh, have you been seeing anything about the Kanye West, Pete Davidson
no,
fighting? Oh, it's so great. Kanye is absolutely batshit crazy.
he always has been, though.
I know.
So I don't know why people have forgotten that. Like he's
Right.
always been
In
crazy.
2018, before the Pete Davidson thing happened, Pete Davidson did a little skit on SNL where he was like, Kanye's announced he's off the drugs. This is the real him. And he's like, how about, no. How about you just take the drugs? They're good for you. I'm on them. It helps. And what happened was Kanye obviously got a divorce or was divorced.
Mm-hmm.
And Pete started dating Kim Kardashian.
Mhm.
So Kanye's
Yeah.
just been on Instagram and Twitter just acting crazy.
Yeah.
Typing in all caps, typing all weird. He's just a weird guy.
Here's the thing. Like, I'm surprised that they were together that long.
Right.
So, because he's crazy and she is vapid and self-absorbed. So, it was only a matter of time.
Right.
before it didn't work. So
I think anyone with Kanye is just not going to work. I think he has problems just in general.
yeah,
And I think he's at the level where I said earlier, it's just yes men. Like no one's calling him out in his inner circle about it.
yeah,
And if they are, he's just cutting him out. Like he got mad at Kid Cudi and just cut him off the album.
yeah.
And Kid Cudi was just like, well, fuck you, man. Get your shit together.
Mm.
It's like, I'm not going to support you in this. Like we've been friends for a while, but you're going down a weird path. I can't be here with you.
Right. I mean, every single classic rock group has gone through that. Like, you know, where the members, are go insane. They're all on drugs and they can't get along, and yet they still make music together.
My favorite thing, and I've heard it a few times, but Howard Stern would have these big bands on, and he'd be like, why did you guys break up? And they're like, we were fighting all the time. He's like, just make the music. You were doing something great. He's like, it's a job. Yeah. He's like, I can't understand how you could be making this much money, this much success, and just be like, it's not worth it. He didn't understand. I don't really understand it. I mean, it's toxic.
Yeah.
Blink.
There are plenty of groups that just make music. They do not talk to each other, like at all. They do not talk to each other. They just they even record their parts in studio separate from each other.
Blink did that, so they all recorded from different studios on their last studio album as not the original band, but the biggest band. I think they did one record with one drummer, but after that was all Travis Barker. So that's, to me, the original band. Yeah. Their last album together, they recorded all from different studios, and you could kind of tell, but it was still really music. Like you could tell there wasn't as much bouncing off each other in collab. It was like you could tell one song was kind of this guy, one song, but overall still great music. Yeah. And still they broke it up.
Right.
And
I mean the Beatles hated each other.
Right.
So.
And they still made it work.
Yeah.
Well,
every song that
the Beatles didn't hate each other. The Beatles all hated Yoko, and John hated them for hating Yoko.
Yes, but they did not get along. There's no.
Well, it's hard for the Beatles and anyone like that when you're young and make it big. You're different people. Like you still have a lot of growing to do. Right.
It was funny, all of the criticism that John had for any song that George or not Paul wrote. Yeah, it's like.
Well, he thought they were all so simple. And no meaning.
And they were, but
that's what's good.
People like it. It's. I love a lot of Paul songs are great. But it depends on what mood I'm in. Sometimes
we talked about this on our first podcast.
Right. Sometimes I like the John songs. Sometimes I like the George songs. I mean, depends.
Strawberry Fields, I think, is my favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite. I don't know who wrote it. I think John wrote it. I don't know. I just really like it. The Beatles, to me, are massively overrated and underrated at the same time.
Sure.
Their music, I believe, is extremely overrated. I don't think it's the best thing I've ever heard, but their influence is extremely underrated.
Yes.
We'd not have modern music if it weren't for them.
Right.
But yet everyone celebrates them like their music was fantastic. It was for back then, for sure.
Yeah, the thing about the Beatles was, their constant push of evolution. So they're always wanting to
change it up.
Yeah.
I think a couple of their albums wasn't more of growing. It was a lot of drugs and let's just go with this.
But that's what it was. They're taking, they're trying to, expand their mind, their consciousness, and thinking that's going to help them expand their music.
And you can't do what they did now. The only one I can think of at the top of my head is Machine Gun Kelly was rapper. Switches gets nothing but hate for doing other types of music at the same time. The Beatles, everyone loved it, right? Oh, it's something new. Bands now, they release something that doesn't sound like everything they've done, and people just hate it.
Yeah.
Because it's not what they think they are. And you can't accept the music for what it is.
How dare you try and leave your box I put you in.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was actually one of the reasons Blink broke up. Tom wanted to, he's like, we got to mature, let's expand it. And of course, they're like, this is what's working, let's do this. And I can see a little bit of both, but now the band's an empty shell of what it was because they didn't move on. Yeah. They're all in their 40s writing songs about high school, and it doesn't. There's some good ones. I'm not going to say they haven't put out anything good, but you got to grow with it. You can't stick to can't be 60 and touring about the first date you went on. I don't think.
Right.
Just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But some bands stay. Like, isn't Metallica basically
I
the same?
appreciate that. Like, I love, when I like a band, I get their new album, and the first listen through, I'm like, I don't like this.
Oh,
and
I do that, and then
you
it
try it
grows on
again,
you.
you're like, oh man, this is good. It's like this is their best album ever.
I did that with the Goo Goo Dolls. They were known for like their ballad. Well, they were like a crappy punk ska band, and then their big break was ballads, and they stuck to that, and that's what I really liked. It was like a story. It was emotional. Then they put out an album that has features on it. There's orchestra, and I listened to it. I'm like, this is not why I like you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Then I listened to it more, and I think it's one of the best albums they've ever made to this day. And I was like, just grow. You have to, because you're going in with the expectation, this is what I want to hear.
Right. Yeah.
And you hear it. And even the first Blink album they brought back, I just hated on it so much. It wasn't what it was. It's not Tom. But then after, a year or so break, go back, I'm like, all right, now that I realize this isn't the band that it was, I can enjoy it for what it is. It has to grow on you a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I see your point there. But with those bands, don't you wish they would still do some of their old stuff too? Because you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I still go back and listen to earlier albums if I want to experience that. I don't need more of that. We talked about this before about of sequels and
Interstellar.
Yeah, exactly. And in continuing the story that you love, it's like no, because you run the risk of tainting that original experience.
So let's
take new experiences that you can also love and fall in, love with. So
let's take your hate for Disney. Let's just forget about it for a second. You were are a big Star Wars fan, right?
Was, yeah.
Yeah. In
Here's
general,
the thing, like
world.
in both cases, I attribute my falling out of love with both with failed leadership.
Okay.
So,
but let's put that aside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Say everything was still perfect, right? Leadership, you're still Star Wars fan. Do you think they should have stopped at the movies? Or do you like the expanding into more things? Like, I know you said you hadn't watched Clone Wars, but a lot of people love it. Yeah. A lot of people love Mandalorian. I mean, would you have... Is that tainting it to keep exploring other things we didn't get to see in the trilogy?
The thing, to be consistent with what I've stated before, I love new story, exploring something that doesn't rely on previous works to boost what you're currently doing.
Okay.
So in that sense, there's only so much you can do in the getting away from the setting. You can always have Star Wars story set in but it can be set at a different time. It can be different group of people.
So you're just saying quit with the main story and let's get more in the world of of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you feel? Because you didn't hate Disney when you watched Mandalorian, right?
That was during the time when I'm really struggling with this. The more I'm learning, the more I'm getting unhappy.
Well, what are your thoughts with Mandalorian? Were you overall?
I think I enjoyed it actually.
Right.
I did enjoy that because it was one of those things. To my point, different character. We had no idea what time it was when it started.
When it started. Yeah,
so,
of course.
So there really was no connection at all to stories that were told before. And
just
it's here's something,
Mandalorian
here's something cool to look at. Here's a cool story that we're exploring with this interesting character, that we didn't have to bait and switch you for.
Right.
Here's what you're gonna get. Sorry, no. Actually, here's what it is. Yeah. There was no promises. No, it's just hey,
it's a new story.
Yeah.
If it weren't for Mandalorian, I wouldn't be into Star Wars at all. It was great. How do you feel about Rogue One, a story that we knew it happened but had no details?
I felt it was completely unnecessary.
Okay, I can see that because it. But do you think they just shouldn't make it at all then, or did you have any interest in seeing how it played out?
I watched it once,
right,
and it's one of those things that's you're not gonna do anything that is gonna.
It can't change anything. We know how it ends.
Right.
So do you think they shouldn't have made it, or are fans happy to get anything in the world? You know, we still got.
Depends on the fan, really. I mean, not me.
No, you could have
No.
just done without
I
it.
could have done well without it. I never watched the Han Solo movie,
Oh, neither did I.
so completely don't need it.
All right,
Do without
on
it.
topic, let's get into another topic that's going to make people mad. This is definitely one of your tipping points here.
Yeah.
So I saw on Reddit where everything is true. Everything's absolutely true.
yeah.
Of course. But they were talking about, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. They're talking about Harry Potter, Unborn Child, Forbidden Child, something. Whatever the new book or play or movie.
Cursed Child? The Cursed Child?
Yeah, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They are making Hermione black.
Okay.
And the person who posted it was African American. They said African American, but J.K. Rowling says black, so I don't really know.
It depends on whether you're a racist or not.
Okay. Anywho.
So, African Americans racist.
She was saying...
I firmly believe that.
Do you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The only person I've called African American was a girl I went to school with who was from Africa, so it made sense.
Right.
She was from Africa, but an American citizen. Anyway, she said that she hated it because Hermione's white, and they're just doing it to fit into the agenda, and she didn't like that. And she said that it makes sense because in the time where it was written, 90 whatever, the population in Europe or wherever, you know, J.K. Rowling was like 1.2% black. And she's like, so of course all the characters are primarily white. That's who lives there. And so that was hers. The best comment was, the what book? This doesn't actually exist in canon. We just forget about it. It's basically borderline fanfic. And someone's like...
Yeah, I remember when that came out, people didn't care for it at all.
Someone said, that's an insult to fanfic. Fanfiction's better than that.
Depends on which fanfiction.
Oh, okay. So she was...
So it depends on whether it's like passionate, like true fan fiction, or if it's, you know, a you know, Tumblrite shipping, like I want these two characters to be together. Like that's trash.
Yes,
I mean,
that's trash.
Yeah. Any furry fanfic, trash.
Yes.
Yep.
So she was saying that she wishes if they wanted to do that, make more stories that include whatever race or gender you want. Just make a new story in the universe, and I agree with that.
I absolutely firmly support that. Yes. Make your own stories. Create something new.
Right.
Yeah.
To identify with those people. If you want to hit a certain base,
right,
you make a new story now.
And I say that across the board. I'm not just speaking specifically, you know, to a particular community. I'm saying for everybody.
Right.
Like, stop the whole bait and switch thing. Like, it's disingenuous, it's annoying, and yeah.
So I saw some more. We talked about this last podcast, and I saw some more information on the new Lord of the Rings. And some people were saying this is why there's a clip and said this is why people are going to hate the new show. And it was Peter Jackson being interviewed, and he was saying that Tolkien wrote the book as a European mythology.
Yes.
He wanted it to be...
Yes.
Because they had lost most of theirs when they were invaded by Russia? Who invaded them?
Well, a lot of that prior to him, there was a lot of like French, you know, folklore.
Right. So he lost. Yeah. So he wanted to write that. So Peter Jackson was saying when they made the original Lord of the Rings, they had made it as if it was mythology, as if it was a fact of the culture. They studied it and they wanted to do it absolute justice. It's not a fantasy to them. I mean, it's a fantasy, but mythology, as Peter Jackson says, isn't fantasy.
Exactly.
They truly believe their mythology is true. So they wanted to make Lord of the Rings, the movies, as if it was true. They wanted the armor. They wanted the people to look the same.
I think he was quoted as saying, like, you know, we're not making this movie for ourselves. So that's why we're not putting any of our, you know, politics, agenda, or anything like that.
Yeah, they wanted to honor it as fact. They said we were going to recreate it like it was a historical battle that happened. We are looking, here are his books and his writings. This is fact. This is how it happened. It's how we make the movie. And they're saying that's why this other Lord of the Rings isn't going to do good.
Right.
Because they're taking Tolkien's world and saying, well, this is now our fantasy world.
Yeah.
And Tolkien wanted it to be mythology and history.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe they should have just made it a fantasy show. I get that they want Lord of the Rings because money.
Well, again, yeah, it's the bait and switch. I mean, like, I need the recognition, the brand recognition of Lord of the Rings in order to get my crappy ideas out there.
Right.
So, because I know, like, because that's the thing. If I try to create my own thing, it would fail miserably. So I need to trick people into watching it.
And I get really heated every time this comes up, but Ford decided they wanted a new Mustang, but they wanted it to be an SUV. And they didn't really want a new Mustang. They wanted an electric SUV, and they knew it wouldn't sell, so they called it a Mustang to piggyback off Mustang's brand.
Yeah.
And I think that's so horrible.
It's insulting.
And Corvette wanted to do it with their SUV, and I'm glad they didn't. I mean, they might still, but it's so bad. To me, that's not a Mustang.
It's not.
If you told me you own and drive a Mustang and you show up to my house with
it has no connection with Mustang. It's a completely new entity.
And they're just using the name to get the selling. And I'm passionate about cars, so that's what gets me. But I guess if you were passionate about Lord of the Rings, you'd be mad that they're using the name and just selling it as is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So anyone that's willing to take any kind of fan base,
but,
movies, music.
You know, I've heard criticism, you know, that like specifically against, you know, the character of Galadriel in that they're, you know, changing her personality into like things that she never was. Like she said herself, like, you know, this is who I am, who I've been, what I've been through, never mentioning what they're going to be exploring in this sham of a show. But yeah,
makes me wish that they saw the back. Like, remember when Sonic trailer released and everyone's like, you cannot release Sonic like this, and they redid it. They took time to redo it.
Right.
I wish more shows would do that. Like, listen.
They can't. I mean, there's so much ego involved.
It's all ego.
And it's all like, and then it's, you know, shifting the blame. It's like, I'm not the problem here. You are for not liking what I've done. And so any criticism you have against me is not valid. And actually, like, you know, because you don't like it, you're a bad person.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's like, no, there are legitimate reasons. Like, I'm not hating on it because I'm a bad person. I'm saying you didn't do it justice.
Yeah.
Like, you disrespected it first. So, and I'm pointing that out. But again, like I said, you don't have that perspective as, you know, the person, you know, creating this product. So you're like, you know, you have to like it because you liked the original that I'm stealing from.
Right.
So
I heard from,
it's like, well, you're not copying the original. You're not doing anything that actually connects it other than the name.
The name, yeah.
So, you know, you're lying to people. You're being disingenuous.
Just to get the viewers there.
You cannot expect people to like it when you've lied to them.
Right. I think that's kind of how Dota 3 failed.
Yeah?
Everyone loved Dota 2. That plays it. The fan base is huge, and when Dota 3 came out, everyone hated it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they didn't do it with Diablo 2. I mean, sure, Dota 3 got new fans, like Diablo 3 got new fans, but the real fans hated it.
Yeah.
Because you just use the name to sell a game. I heard an interview of Bill Burr. Don't know how old it was, but they were talking about, like, how did you land a role in Mandalorian? And he kind of explains, and he says the reason that show does so well is because Favreau is a huge Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
They let a fan do it, and because he's a geek for that and loves it, that's why it's working. It's not some executive or producer that just wants to use the name. Someone who loves the series, and that's why it did good.
Yeah,
because someone who cared about it and knows the lore and geeks out about it did it. So that's how you win.
Yeah,
that's how you win. You let people who are fans do it.
Absolutely, yeah. But again, you can't do that because, you know,
not allowed. They're a nobody.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of it ties into, you know, money. Obviously, you know, the studio doesn't have confidence in someone they don't know, so they're not gonna hire, you know, a diehard fan who's not in the industry to run a show that they're investing a ton of money into.
Right.
They'd rather risk losing all their money going with someone that they know. Yeah, and they do. And they consistently, over and over and over again, lose money because
Ego.
they can't do it right. They don't plan it right. They don't tell a good story. They don't, there's no real effort put into it other than this should be a moneymaker because
because it has the
what
name.
it is. Yeah. It drives me insane. Like I heard, rumor of they're working on a One Piece treatment, and I'm like, that show right there, like it's perfect as an anime. You cannot make that into a live action movie.
I read the books when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't watch the show, but the show is still going.
It is, yeah.
And
I watch it every week, yeah.
Huge following. Why would you take something that's doing so well? It's fine. There's no reason to mess with it. Why would you give it a live action? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
As someone who's not a fan anymore, it doesn't make sense to me why you would want to.
Yeah.
It's already doing good. Why give an option to taint it?
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
Because, again, it's one of those things that studio execs, they don't understand the fans. And fans are the enemy, actually, which is crazy because they're the ones that are making you money. But, hey, whatever. But, all they see is are dollar signs. Like, we can't lose on this. People love this. We'll just give them more. It's like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, it actually works opposite. You could taint what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So let's segue that into what you're saying. They don't want a fan. With the Olympics and this year's X Games for snowboarding and skateboarding, which I'm a fan of, none of the judges are previous skaters or snowboarders. So the judging's all over the place. They don't know what they're talking about. You can't even justify how they're judging, because if you watch the Olympics, they're not telling you how they judge.
Right.
In snowboarding, you're just getting a score. You're like,
sure.
Okay, why? And then you listen to people who are...
Well, because I like that person, I don't like that person. Yeah. That's why you got that score.
So there you go. I'm live streaming, at least with the skateboarding. I listen to all these famous skateboarders. You got Hawk, you got Rodney Mullen, you got people that were huge in the beginning of skating, and they're questioning. They're like, why is that scored that way?
Mm-hmm.
Why? I don't understand. And when you start listening to these people talk, they go, well, we tried offering. Almost every huge skater or someone who announces for skating tried offering to do... It wasn't X Games, my bad. It was the first year of the Olympics at skateboarding. But COVID pushed it, so it was in a weird time. They all offered, and the Olympics said, no, we don't want you. It's weird. You wouldn't want... Doesn't make sense. They want to keep their people, but their people have no clue.
Right.
You're doing sports that have a huge following.
Yeah.
A lot of people knowledgeable. You should be letting them.
Yep. Has everything to do with power.
Right.
Like, we have our group. We're not going to give up any of our power, even if it would make what we're trying to do better.
Way better.
Yeah.
All I've heard from the Olympic skateboarding is bad things.
Mm-hmm.
They handled it wrong. The course wasn't really built for what it should have been. It was hot. The announcers have can't say the announcers because every network has their own, but the judges have no idea what they're judging on or why they're judging. So skaters hate it. Maybe the general public liked it. Maybe if you know absolutely nothing about skating and you watch and you're like, oh, I guess.
Sure.
You don't know any of the people. You're like, this first, second, and third makes sense. But when you're watching it as a fan, you're like, none of that makes... These people should not be where they are.
Right.
Those tricks make no sense to scoring. So you've got some Olympic hate you want to spit out?
Yeah, we touched on it a little bit last week.
Yeah, get into it.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Just retreading the same ground.
Yeah,
I mean,
go for it. Hasn't no new information that's made you hate it more?
I haven't. Like after my event last week, I'm like, I don't want it anymore. Like I didn't want to look into anything else. I haven't heard anything else. I mean, other than just random people talking about the different athletes that switch their representative country and all that kind of stuff. It's
what?
Oh, you didn't hear about all that? So
no.
Yeah, there's big heat of. I think she may be a skier or something like that.
Really?
Born in California, she's American,
okay.
but she's like half Chinese, something like that, or like her parents.
So she
her
rode for
dad's
Chinese.
Yes.
Or China.
Yes.
You can do that.
I guess so. She did.
I was under the impression that whatever country you're from, that's who you do.
You would
for.
think, yeah, you would think, but I think, the don't quote me on this, but I think in previous, years or events of the Olympics, like, they want to have a certain number of representatives for each country. So if a certain country doesn't have enough or underrepresented, then you basically have the opportunity to, if you have some sort of connection to represent that country.
I think I've seen that in team sports like hockey,
Mm-hmm.
where it's weird because maybe they're from Russia, but they play in the U.S.
The other side of it would be, say you don't think you can make it on the
American team or
yes,
whatever.
exactly, but you can absolutely make it on a different team. There you go.
Right. That's weird. I know a lot of, I won't say a lot of because there's not a lot of them, but professional skateboarders, they're in countries that don't have skateboarding. So they have to come here to skate in anything.
Sure.
They're not, because back in their country, they're obviously the top, but there's like one skate park in a whole country.
Right.
So the only place to be would be for America, which makes the Olympics very hard for what team you're skating for.
Right.
Because, of course, like everyone's in the United States. There's no skating outside of the U.S. That is definitely a USA sport.
Yeah.
So that makes it hard. And I saw the same about swimming. Like, you don't have a lot of people from other countries because it's a very rich man's sport.
Yeah.
There's not many places that just in
Sure.
foreign countries that have a
The
pool
one
to train
thing
in.
that there is a potential to increase the popularity of different sports if that athlete does well.
That's true.
So it reminds me, I actually had a teacher in college that he was one of the people that was responsible for bringing the sport of rally car racing to, I think it was Brazil.
Really?
Yeah.
That sport's insane. Yeah. Insane. Those guys are crazy.
And it blew up. Like, it didn't exist prior to, him bringing it there. So,
really?
Yeah.
There was a car show, I don't remember what it was, really scripted, but there was a female, I think, a young girl who really liked drifting, and I forget which country she was in, somewhere like Brazil, and she basically just pieced together a shitty car that they had in their country and spray painted it and was drifting and brought drifting to their country.
Yeah.
Not as huge as it is here, more of drifting and empty lots and stuff, not like Formula Drift, but it's so cool to see that one person can see something and just make it into it, and it's their own spin now.
Right.
Like, I'm sure their drifting down there is totally different.
Yeah.
I know here for drag racing and everything, it's pretty similar. Any drag strip in the U.S. is going to be the same. Australia, they have big engine light cars for burnouts. They do burnout contests, and that's all it is. And Cletus McFarlane, his real name's Garrett, but he's brought some of those guys over and had their cars shipped to kind of bring Australia culture here in the cars, because it's not something you see, a burnout contest.
Right.
Like in Australia, they build cars just to do the biggest, longest burnouts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just cool that their country is totally different.
Right.
Like we built the cars here and everyone wanted to go fast in a straight line, and at some point in time, Australia's like, we're just going to do burnouts, man.
No need to go anywhere.
Smoke them if you got them. So that's crazy how things like that can happen.
Yeah, right.
My aunt lives in the UP, and her husband, I guess my uncle now, is a forester. So he has access to, all the forest roads that are closed off to public.
Mm-hmm.
And they always invite me to come up and watch the rally, and I just haven't made it because they can go to any checkpoint. They have the authority, to go wherever they want. They don't have to sit in the public. And I think it'd be so cool. Every time we see her at Thanksgiving, she shows me pictures and videos. I'm like, that's so sweet. It's unreal that they're on basically a 2-track, 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And you're just listening to a guy going light left 200 meters, and you just have to trust that guy.
Right.
They got balls of steel. I've seen them flip the car. One guy crashed into a house, and they get out, and they're immediately like looking at the map of what went wrong. Like,
what was
you
that?
just flipped a car into a house, and you're like, all right, cool.
It's a bad call.
Like, no worries.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, there we go.
Oh, sorry.
Whoops.
I was talking to my dad about Formula One racing, and I don't watch it, but I was telling him that Lewis Hamilton, professional F1 racer, he's regarded, I heard, as one of the best athletes in the world. My dad's like, well, they're not really athletes. Like, it's hard. but not really. And I looked it up. Their heart rate is insane
I bet.
for like 2 hours. Like their heart rate's the
Yeah.
same as like an Olympic sprinter,
Right.
But for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think the resting heart rate for Lewis was like 50 or 60.
It's a lot of adrenaline.
beats.
Yeah.
50 or 60. That's just your resting. Like you're
Mhm.
basically dead. I was like, I want to see what happens when he's driving and just gets T-boned or rear-ended. It's like 60, 65, back down to 60, like a split second. You know, everyone else, their heart rate jumps up, and he's just like, oh, okay, well, what now?
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
what phases you when you're that dialed in all the time?
Yeah.
Just nothing matters anymore.
Right. It reminds me of, when I was driving my baby brother in the winter one time, and we hit a spot of ice and started spinning.
Oh.
He's freaking out. I'm just like, hey, enjoy the ride.
There's nothing we
right.
can do now.
Yeah. So,
Well, did you,
all right.
when you were younger, did you do donuts in parking lots and stuff?
Not really, no.
No?
But, I lived out in the country, so, stuff like that, like losing control happened a lot.
Okay.
So it wasn't anything I was unfamiliar with.
See,
So it happened enough, just regular driving. I never really felt the need to go do donuts or anything.
Well, you're
like
wrong.
That, so.
You should do donuts. My driving instructor, actually, he would take people. I did it in the summer, but in the winter, he would take people to parking lots and do that.
Yeah.
And push them past their limit to where it would spin out.
Mm-hmm.
So you could feel it, because if you've never felt it before,
Yeah.
the last place you want it to happen is 60 miles an hour on the expressway.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I think I still do it. I'm way too old to be in parking lots throwing my car around. Not so much anymore. My car is, I've been doing it with her since I was 17, so she's getting old. She can't really handle it.
Yeah.
And nor at 17 something breaks, I'm okay with it. Now it's like it's a headache for me. I gotta fix it.
Yeah.
So I don't.
And that's that's the thing, you get, like, as you get older, you get into more, expensive vehicles, or you realize the actual value of that vehicle,
yeah.
whether it's a beater or not. You're like,
Right.
oh, it's going to be a pain if I have to replace this.
I used to,
So.
in all my cars, beat on them. And when I had my last car, that Corvette, is like, everyone would be like, oh, want to do a burnout? And I'm like, well, my clutch, if I screw it up, it's like a $2,000 job. Not really. Not
Right?
I really don't want to. Like, it's fun,
Yeah.
but when your hobbies go up, it's more expensive.
Yeah.
My pistol, I'll shoot crappy rounds through. But if I go out and buy a $2,000 10mm special combat, I'm not going to be just
Exactly.
launching anything through it.
Oh yes. Yep.
Very expensive.
I have some that I'm very particular about which ammunition I use. Yeah.
Right.
I'm not buying no, cheap ammo or yeah.
It's just not worth it to send
No.
it through. You just don't want anything to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the problem. Before I had this microphone.
Would things go wrong? Probably not. I'm not taking the chance.
Why?
You know?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, and the chances, so it is cheaper. So if you're shooting a lot, you may save $50 in a day of shooting. But if something goes wrong, it's way more than $50 to fix.
Exactly.
That's the problem with
Yep.
with shooting something like that.
Right.
That's with everything. I mean, I've treated the guitar sitting over there. That red one was my first one. I don't care. That's the one that got knocked over by the cat, and it wasn't really a big deal. But my Fender over here, if that gets knocked, I'm really worried about it.
Right.
My old microphone, when I was just doing vocal covers in a closet, like that thing falls, or I throw it around, I pack it up. Don't care.
Yeah.
This thing's never sitting on the ground. This is always in a stand. Usually when you're not here, I put a little sock cover over it
Mm-hmm.
because I care about it. It's an
Right.
expensive hobby.
Yes.
The computer I used to baby, now it's old. Cat threw up on the top of it. I'm just like, yeah, all right, I'll wipe it off. But if it was a new 3060 Ti laptop, the cat threw up on it, I'd be like, what are you doing?
Right.
No.
Yep. You're paying for that.
Right? Freeloader in my house. Not getting food today.
Right.
So, yeah. What ones are you particular about? What are your babies that you're particular about for the guns you have? All of them?
No, specifically, my AR for one.
Okay. The new one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have, my 45 I'm pretty particular about.
Pretty
so,
particular.
yeah. My 9's my daily carry, so that one's like just more of
Anything.
it's a utility one.
Right.
So
That's
yeah.
how mine is. It's
Mhm.
cheap, and it's, if something goes wrong, the whole thing was 250. So it's like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if I break the slide somehow, which it's never been documented.
Yeah.
The slide
Then I
breaks.
have a few, heirloom stuff that,
Right. There's those things. So I brought out my great grandpa's shotgun, and it's like, I did a few shots. Like, oh, you were there when I brought out the rifle. That was a family heirloom. It's like, I let anyone that wants to shoot it, but I'm not there to just run rounds through it all day. Like,
Right.
Yep. Every now and then, special occasion.
Yeah.
My friend's dad had a semi-auto, beautiful shotgun. I've never shot a semi-auto before that. So nice. And he only brings it out with close friends and if it's a nice day. Just like, it's like an honor when someone hands you an heirloom gun or something
Right.
special.
Yeah.
And you really want to be careful. At least I do. Someone hands it to me. I'm like, I know it's your baby. I'm gonna
Right.
take care of it.
Yeah.
I'm the same way with cars. Joy's friend's husband, Zach, he got a new daily driver, so he doesn't care about it as much. I mean, he cares, but it's a nice car. It's a Focus ST. But he wanted me to drive it and feel the clutch, so I'm treating it like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
It's his daily now for the winter. It's just a winter beater for him. And we're driving. He's like, "Well, you can get on it." I'm like, "Are you sure?" Like, like if it was my winter beater, I'm just gonna beat on it.
Right.
But someone else's, like, I'm gonna treat it like it's mine. I'm gonna treat it like it's the most expensive thing in the world, and I'm gonna only do what you say is okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care if you take it and thrash it through the snow. It's not mine to do.
Right.
I don't have the right to do that.
Yeah. It takes some like serious convincing for people for me to shoot other people's.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think
so.
you shot mine when I had it out there.
Yeah. So
I'll
and
usually turn it down
for
once.
For that reason, I would love to. Don't get me wrong, I would love to, but it's one of those things. It's like
you don't want it to go wrong on your watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So, and it definitely depends on the person, right? Like if I hand you my great grandfather's rifle and you shoot and something goes, I know it's not your fault, so I'm not going to be mad. But with other people, you have no idea how they're going to react.
Right.
I was very worried when you lent me John Wick and the cat knocked the guitar and broke it. And I was like,
yeah, I know
oh my God.
That was funny when you were like, I have something to confess to tell you.
It was so bad. Like, I never borrowed anything from you. And you're like me, where I like keeping all my stuff really nice condition. I don't let people touch it.
I do too. Like that, I do take care of my stuff. But if other people break my stuff, it happens. Whatever. Things.
What was crazy is we've had cats. Nothing in this room is ever. There are guitars everywhere. There's so much expensive stuff in here. And the one time I borrow something, the cat's like, "Let me take out a guitar and the case to a movie at the same time." It's crazy.
Right?
Yeah, I felt so bad. And Joy was like, "Oh, he's gonna be fine." I'm like, I don't know that. All right, like I borrowed it. It was in my care.
Right.
I wouldn't be mad either if I lent something and someone's like, "Hey, this was a."
It's a risk you always take when you lend stuff. I mean, it's like if it really is gonna bother you, then don't lend it out. I mean,
right.
Well,
and Joy she had to take my car when we were in between her cars.
Mm-hmm.
She calls me while I'm in line for a concert. It's like, I have some really bad news.
I don't believe in potholes and disrespected them.
Right. So breaks the car, and she to this day is still surprised that I didn't freak out. But I was like, it's an accident, right?
Yeah.
You drive cars, things are gonna happen.
Right.
It's not like you blew up.
Speaking
the
of which,
car.
I actually had to take the other way around to get here today because, like for the past few weeks, guaranteed, I go out to my car Saturday morning, and low pressure, gauges
in the tires.
Yeah. It's because I go over all those potholes on the back road. I'm certain of it.
No,
I'm
it's not.
certain of it.
That's not
it. It is.
It's the cold. It's the cold.
Every Saturday, fine all throughout the week. Friday night, I run all those potholes. Saturday morning,
Doesn't ever come on?
Throughout the week?
Yeah.
No.
Really?
No. Only Saturday morning. And that's the only difference.
Well, we'll see. So you took a different route today.
Different route today.
Let me know in the morning if it comes on.
Right.
I mean,
it'd
be really coincidental.
So I had a rim leak on my driver's side.
On this car?
Yes.
You got it fixed?
Yeah, I had it patched.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was the rim
a few weeks
bent?
ago. Was the rim bent?
Yeah.
They didn't say no. They didn't say what it was.
They just said it was a
rim
leak.
Yeah.
Weird.
So then they said obviously keep an eye on the rest because once one goes then the others start. But
that's not true. I don't think
my theory is that it's I don't park it in a garage. Ed used to all the time. So I think that's the difference. So
I could
'cause
see
it's getting more cold exposure than it used to. But
I could see the potholes maybe if you had slow leaks, but even at that, it would come sometime. I don't know what that is, because you would think that pressure, it shouldn't be breaking the bead. Those tires are sealed.
you would think, yeah, but that's the only difference.
I think you have fairly new
So.
tires on there.
I haven't
can't
looked.
remember.
I mean, when I bought the car, it had the receipt from Bell Tire.
Oh, so they are fairly new.
So I haven't looked at it. I don't remember.
He didn't have
when
the car
when
that
bought
long.
it. Yeah.
So, I mean, he had
So.
it maybe 3 or 4 years. So.
Yeah. But
Yep. He lent me his...
probably time for new tires anyway. But
No, you're probably... I'll check them out. They're probably fine.
yeah.
He lent me his first one, his 4-door Elantra, and I took it down to Florida, and I brought it back with 3 tires with bulges in them. I didn't do anything crazy, but you've driven down to Florida. There's random roads that just have like a slight drop in concrete. And it's like they were stock tires and they were old, but I felt so bad. One had a bulge and I could see it, so I brought it to the tire place, and they're like the other 2 had them on the inside, so I couldn't see it. And I was like, well, I didn't hit anything. I didn't hit a pothole. It's just there's nothing you do on the expressway when there's breaks in the concrete. You just have to hit them.
Yeah.
You're doing 80 miles. 70 miles an hour on the expressway.
Right.
80 when you get into, when I went through Mexico to get to Florida, we were doing 85.
Yeah.
Took a detour through Mexico to get there. But yeah, you're driving at night or through the mountains, and what are you going to do when the concrete's like that?
Yeah.
So when I had Joy in the car, I think, driving on the expressway, and someone had clipped one of those road signs, like, it had 2 of the square posts holding it up, where the screws can go through. And they hit it, and it fell flat into the fast lane.
Ooh.
Where I'm driving.
Oh, no.
The car hit it, car between us, and everyone in the other lane. So I can't get over. So the car in front of me hits it, and we're doing 60, 65, hits it, and it starts bouncing. And I was like, no. Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I lock up my brakes, the guy's going to hit me from the back, and I'm going to hit it anyway. And lucky that it went down and I just ran over it and no damage. But I was like, that could have been so bad. If it was any up, could have caught anything under the car and just ripped it. So the only thing I've ever hit that broke the car was a raccoon.
Yeah.
And I cried. I don't know why. Doing 80 miles an hour on the way home from Ohio. Saw it running, couldn't do anything, hit it, and I just started tearing up. And Joy was like, the car's going to be all right. I'm like, it's not the car. Like,
the raccoon.
It's the raccoon. I don't care about the car. It cracked my splitter, and I still haven't fixed it. But it was just the raccoon. It made me so sad.
Yeah.
Felt so bad for him. I was like, there's nothing I could have done. He was in the
So
wrong.
I remember
You want to be in the podcast?
long time ago, Joy called me, and like it was like really, really early in the morning or something like that, and she was going to work and had hit a car, or someone had pulled out in front of her, hit this car, and so she's calling me crying, and I'm like, I was asleep, so
right,
and so instantly awake, I'm like, why are you crying? Like, what's going on? And she's like, and all she can say is over and over again is my booty, because she had called her car booty. Oh. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
This is a strange conversation.
Yeah.
Why are you calling me crying saying my booty?
Yeah. So.
I've never been in a car accident.
Yeah.
I mean.
I have.
I had a motorcycle
I
accident.
rear-ended somebody who, slammed on the brakes, and yeah, so.
Nothing you can do.
Yeah. It was a truck. No damage to them at all. And then another one, I was...
Jeremiah, you got 2?
I have 2, yeah.
Oh, my God.
This was in my Cadillac, too. And I was so mad because...
Yeah, you deserve to drive that Hyundai. No more Camaro for you. Crashing things.
Right? So this was like a year after I had graduated from high school, and my brother was still in high school, and
1988 for all of you wondering.
Yeah, way back in the day. Yeah, 1888. Yeah, so anyway, so he wanted me to come up to the school after had gotten out and accompany him for an audition. So I get up there as school's getting out and everyone's leaving. Big line of cars on the way out. No one going back in, mind you. So I'm the only one traveling this way. And the way the parking lot is set up is you have your normal parking lot, here, lane of traffic, usually goes both ways, here. And then off to this side is a dirt lot where people who don't have parking passes park up there.
Okay.
So, with all the rest of the losers. Anyway, so, girl is driving her car from here, and rather than getting into the lane to leave,
yeah,
she's going straight across
to the other
into the parking lot to go pick up her friend.
So parking lot to parking lot.
Yeah. So I'm driving along, braking traffic here. She guns it because it's just a
steady
small
stream.
little steady stream. So she guns it, and I'm just driving on slowly, like not not speeding
going
at all,
into a parking lot,
and just wham, just.
Did someone let her out?
I don't know. Like
that's what's terrifying to me. People always try and let me out here at this expressway exit, and I'm always, or let me turn onto it. And I'm like, no, I cannot see.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to trust you to know that there's a car coming in the other lane.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm doing that.
Right.
I will wait.
So for the longest time, it was a Malibu too, and for the longest time, I hated Malibus for that reason, because it killed my Cadillac. I drove a Malibu.
I know, but you should hate them.
Yeah, it was. So anyway, the few factors of that were extra frustrating was that it wasn't her car; it was actually her friend's who she was going to go pick up. She didn't even have a license.
Oh, Jesus!
So
no license,
yep,
not her car.
Yep. So then, when the cops show up, her friend, who was over here somewhere, told the cops that she was driving.
Oh my God! And then lies.
Yes.
Did they get that taken care of?
Well, her, like this girl's mom, showed up and was, she was freaking out obviously, and so I told her mom, I'm like, hey, your daughter just lied to the cops, like she was not in the car, like she wasn't driving, it was the other girl, her friend.
Did the mom straighten it out?
Oh, she was so mad. She's like, we'll take care of your car, we'll pay for it. Never did.
Really?
Never did. Yep. Had to actually total my car. So, because it did so much damage.
Did you report it to insurance or anything?
I don't remember.
That's crazy.
What steps I took after that, but
that's nuts. I've never had that situation.
Yeah.
Not that I can remember. I know Nick got backed into. It was funny. He had to go to defensive driving too for, I don't know, reckless driving and speeding, whatever we did when we were younger. Stupid class. Did you ever have to take it?
No.
They take your first ticket off if you're young and stupid. But you go to a class.
They've had the whole like, oh well, your insurance will be less, and I'm like, I'll pay more. I don't want to sit in that class.
So, well, I went to it because I was young. I didn't want the insurance, didn't want the points, and it was like 3 days. The dude was really cool. He's an old guy who would teach it, and he'd talk about how him and his friends used to drink and drive in the back seat. The cops would pull him over and just say, pour it out and go home. Crazy times back then from where he's from, back in the day. But Nick was at that class. Funny enough, one of the kids in the class backed into the hood of his Cadillac at a defensive driving. And the kid's dad was some rich guy, so like the kid freaked out, called his dad right away. And Nick's Cadillac wasn't like a 99 or 2000 SLS, nothing in today's standards awesome. It was used when he got it, but all leather, had the 8-disc CD player installed in the trunk, sunroof that his dad paid to have added because it wasn't a feature on those Cadillacs. So, but he hit it, knocked the emblem off, crushed the hood. But rich boy daddy, came over and was like, "Don't worry about it. I've got connections to a body yard. We'll get you one." And they did get him one, so he didn't have to be reported and got him a new hood.
Nice.
Slightly off in color. I don't know if it was the color code was wrong or if just fading because old car.
Yeah.
But that actually worked out for him. But he was pissed that it happened.
Yeah.
So. I guess it goes both ways. You can sometimes trust someone to take care of it and sometimes not.
Or you can have someone try and run you over after you confront them about hitting your Camaro. So
really, that happened to you?
That happened to me, yeah. Yep. They were desperate to get out of there and nearly ran me over.
Really?
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yep.
When I got hit on my motorcycle, technically I hit her, but she ran a stop sign anyway. when I got off, she just kept saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and I think all I could say was "fuck you." As I'm being carried off the road. I was like, something along those lines. Like,
Right?
I was just insulting her.
You should feel bad.
Right? That's all.
Apology not accepted.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Like, who are you trying to get sympathy from, lady? Like,
Right?
They're
No,
literally.
it's okay. I'm only broken. It's all right. Whatever.
No, don't worry. This guy's just gonna carry me over here and lay me in the grass. Don't worry about it. I was so mad, and then.
It's like, if you really want to apologize, trade places with me. How about that?
Right, and when I called a lawyer or got a hold of a lawyer, I was telling him, like, on the ticket, the girl's name's there. So of course, I looked her up, and I was like, she's young, looks to be a college student. I don't think, she has a lot of money, but this is, I'm out of a job right now. I've got surgery, I've got all these bills. And he's like, oh, that's very nice of you to think about, but it's her insurance that would pay. And I said, okay, but in my mind, I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to be nice to her. I'm just saying, like, I want my money, and I don't think she has a lot of it. Like, he took it
how do we get more money out of someone who doesn't have money?
Yeah,
what are our options?
He was taking me as being nice, and I was like, well,
right.
You have the wrong idea, buddy. I'm not nice.
Right.
I've been at a hospital.
I don't want to pay for this. Yeah, unfortunately, I was on the hook and had to pay for all my Camaro repairs.
What's nice about Michigan laws for motorcycle is if it is not your fault, everything is taken care of. They really protect their motorcycles. I mean, and for life. Like, if my foot, it will, but when I get older, because it's so crushed up in there, I'll have a lot of problems.
Yeah.
They will have to, her insurance, even if she's not a member, will have to pay all those medical bills later for my life of the injury, which is crazy. They told me in Michigan, if it breaks again, because it's already previously broken and it has nothing to do with it. So I'm out jogging and I step on a rut and it breaks again. They're on the hook.
Wow.
That's nuts. And I got off lucky. Most people, like when that guy called me, he's like, crashed your motorcycle? I'm like, yeah. He goes, broke your left leg. I was like, no, foot. I'm like, how did you know left? He's like, almost everyone breaks their left leg.
Yeah.
That's just common. It must be the way it gets dumped, or when you hit, your body just leans one way.
Yeah.
It's crazy how knowledgeable the guy was.
Or that's usually where you get clipped.
Yeah, that
on that
too.
side. So, yeah.
Yep. Accidents. They happen.
Yes.
I never let anyone ride my bike except my dad.
Yeah.
When we rebuilt it. Did I tell that story on here?
About him riding it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think so.
So we rebuilt it. So all the plastics got scrapped, rewired it, made it look more like a Street Fighter bike. Just anything I could do to get some money back out of it. Because I paid $21 total with all the repairs when I bought it. And they were like, well, do you want full coverage or PLPD? And I'm like, it's $2,000. Like, if I have this for 2 years, I've already paid more in insurance than it's worth. Didn't know I was going to get hit by a car, so I didn't do it. So I was like, well, I got to get some money back out of this. So we picked it up, rebuilt it. I took it out one time, still had a giant boot on just in front of his house, which was stupid because we rebuilt it and had oil all over the back tire, so it was super slippery. But after that, I was like, well, Dad, someone needs to drive this before I can sell it. I can't just sell it to someone and say, I've never ridden it. I just put it back together.
Yeah.
So no speedo, no dash, no nothing. My dad's like, well, I'll take it out. So I'm like, okay. So he lived in a trailer park at the time where you had to go down his road a little bit, then you hit a stop sign, then you came out to the main road and you can go left or right. So he hops on it. Me, my little brother, my stepmom are outside watching him. He wasn't going to wear a helmet. I make him wear a helmet.
This is all like leading up to he dumped it. That's what
No, it's
okay.
not. So
right.
he pulls out and you hear him like, and you can it's small and it's outside and the bike was loud. So we hear him go. We hear him get to the stop sign and we're just kind of listening to make sure it's going okay. And he goes through about 2 gears. Hear him stop at the next stop sign. I'm like, okay, sounds like it's going good. So I'm thinking he's just going to turn left, come in the entrance, so the sun will be done. Makes a turn. All we hear is, goes through 5 out of the 6 gears. And my stepmom's like, that sounds really loud. I'm like, he's doing over 100 miles an hour. She's like, how do you know? I'm like, he just ripped it through 5 gears. And he comes back. He's like, I think it's going good. I'm like, Dad, you were easily going over 100. He's like, how do you know? I'm like, I counted your gears. And I've done that with a Speedo. I'm like, you were doing like $150. And he's like, this is why I can't own one. Just And it was just crazy to be sitting there and like listening. I'm expecting to go maybe 2 gears and turn back in, and just to hear him wide open, just ripping gears like a race bike. I was like, well, he's making real bad decisions right now. We just put it back together. I have no idea what's going to happen, and you just ripped it.
Right.
So, yeah, we sold it to a guy. He actually showed up to look at it, was 3 hours late, and was really apologizing. And he's like, I don't have all the money. I couldn't get it. And on the way here, we hit a pothole and got a flat. So he literally shows up with the skinny spare on it. And he looks at it and he's like, well, can I ride it? I'm like, well, you have any money? And he's like, I got $500 as deposit and my driver's license. And he's like, I don't care what condition it's in. He's like, I'm taking the engine, putting it in a bike I'm building for my wife. So he literally just takes her on the block and he's like, I'll have all your money for you. And I had to go to work the next day, so I just left the title signed with my stepmom, and he came back. Just thought it was funny that he shows up 3 hours late. I'm all mad at him. Then he gets out, and he looks totally defeated. His car's on a little tiny spare, and he's like only trying to buy a motorcycle. He's
man.
He's like, got a flat, couldn't get to the bank in time. He's like, 500's the deposit, the limit for the ATM. So I sold it to him, I think, $1,500. So $600 loss minus whatever time and random parts I had to fix it with, but. I was too scared to get back on a bike anyway. Didn't stop fast enough, especially when you're thinking about crashing into something that just happened. Like, tap the brake. I'm like, this doesn't feel safe. I'm just waiting for that feeling of full lockup and hitting again. So, transitioned into sports cars. That you drive stupider because you have a metal cage around you.
It's funny that I'm sure I've said this before, but when I first bought my Camaro, it was raining that day in Texas, mind you, which a lot of people don't. Yeah, a lot of people don't think that really means anything when I say it was raining, but it doesn't do that a lot in Texas. And so when it does, though, the roads are really slick. Like they're like ice.
That's
here.
all the oil coming out.
Yep.
Because all the oil and stuff that goes into the road. A lot of people don't understand the first rain of summer or a long dry spout is very slippery.
Yes.
Even if you're in a state where it rains a lot, you don't understand. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
A wet road can be very dangerous.
I'm driving it, and the sales guy's sitting there, and he's like, he keeps saying over and over, he's like, yeah, man, you feel free to open it up, man.
Oh, he went with you?
Yeah.
How old were you?
Maybe what, 26.
That's crazy that they would go with you.
Yeah.
Because, you're pretty old. It's an expensive car, but 26 is not like you're a young kid. You have the attention, and you've told the story. You had the intention. Your friend basically told him that that's what you want to buy.
Yeah, I'm there to buy it. So, I don't know. I think maybe it was just that was their policy there. It could have been the fact that this was it was a pretty cherry find. Like it was. Maybe it was just big for them, and or maybe the guy was bored. And he was I'll go for a ride. Like I said, the guy that traded it in, traded that and a Corvette in at the same time to get a new Corvette. Crazy. So yeah. So anyway, those two cars that he just traded in, best ones on their lot. Right. Bar none. Anyway, he was telling you to open it up. Sorry. Yeah. And of course, I'm feeling the road. I'm like, nah, man, it's too slick. Here I can't do that. So till we got under the bridge, where it was dry under there, and I'm like, oh, here's my grip. Open it up. He's like, there you go. And I'm like, just while we're under here. Yeah. Like once we get back out there. See, it makes me sound like he wasn't able to drive it. And so probably he wanted to ride. Exactly. Yeah. They'd just gotten it in. So yeah. Yep. Which is dumb because they parked it up on the curb in front of the building. Right. And I asked him hey man, how are we gonna get this down? And he's like, I'll just take it slow. And I'm like, ooh, dude, this is a curb, man. Like, what was it fine? It hit the scraped. It scraped, yeah. There was a video of a guy that bought a new Hellcat, had just signed the papers. It was in the showroom, and pulling it out, he hit the door. Like, not the guy who bought it. Yeah. Them bringing it out, hit the door, and scraped the fender. And they're like, "Oh, we'll get it fixed." He said, "Hell no, I don't want it anymore." Right. Yeah. It's done. Yeah. Rip that contract. Where's the contract? Yep. Rip it up. He's like, I'm not
I wanted a brand new car.
Yeah.
You fixing the fender is not brand new.
Right.
So I'll tell my test drive story and then we can end this. My dream car to this day still is a 94 to 97 Toyota Supra, twin turbo. And on my 19th birthday, I was home from college. Yeah, home from college. My mom had a Prius back in the day that wasn't really known, so I have to go to Toyota dealer because every oil change place is like, oh, we don't work on foreign cars. So I had to go all the way to Dixie Highway down in like Waterford or something. So my mom knew I was home, and she's like, will you do it? I was like, it's my birthday. I'm not doing anything else. So I take her car down there, and the weekend prior, I had seen one of those little used lots had a Supra. And I was like, well, I'll go check it out. So I get my mom's oil changed. I drive over there. It's sitting there on the lot. I go to look at it. There's parents and a douchey kid looking at it, eating it apart. And then they leave. The salesman comes up, and he goes, oh, it's $54,000 or $40,000. I don't know. Way too much for a 19-year-old kid. I was like, yeah, man, I can't buy it. It's just my dream car. I'm really interested. He goes, you want to drive it? I was like, like I said, like I have no intention to buy it. He goes, no one here's been able to go for a test drive or drive it, so I want to see what it's got. You want to drive it? I was like, he's like, I'll get the keys. So I start walking with him inside, and of course I send a picture to my mom. I'm like, they're literally getting me the keys to a Supra right now to drive. No paperwork, no driver's license. He's just like, we're going. We get in the car, and it's twin turbo. I think it was all stock, so it's probably the same as like an RT Challenger. Not crazy fast, but faster than most cars.
Yep.
So we take it out, and we're driving it, and it's got sequential turbos, so one small and one big. So even when you're going, you can hear it like, and you can hear it spooling up the big one. We're driving, we get to the stoplight, and he goes, you should open it up, because like I said, no one here's ridden in it or driven it. So once we turned right onto Dixie, I just gave it the goose and let him spool up the turbos, and it was awesome and life-changing. And he was like, yeah, that was sweet. Brought it back, and I was like, everyone was probably so jealous that he got to go for a ride in the car that they really can't justify. It was on consignment, so they can't drive it. But I was like, that guy did not care if I was going to buy it. He wanted to ride in this car.
Right?
So
yeah.
He was like, yep, I'm going to let this kid drive it. I'm going to let anyone that's looking at it drive it. I don't care.
There you go. There's your justification. He was looking at it. Yep.
Yeah.
Was he going to buy it? He was looking at it.
Yeah, I don't know what he told the boss. Like, when he comes in, he's like, I got someone that wants to drive it. And they're like, well, who is it? And he's like, I don't know. It doesn't matter. He wants it. Said he'll pay cash today. And that was it. I drove out of there feeling like top of the world.
Yeah.
But every other test drive, no one's ever wanted to ride with me.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Just go in there.
Just that one experience, yeah.
I had one where there was a Mustang I wanted to drive. I don't know, 18, 19, somewhere in that area. And they were like getting me the keys, and they're like, oh, you need to have your parent with you, or we need to run your credit to test drive it. I was like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
And they're like, based on your age and experience, I'm like, well, I'm not. I'm like, how would I ever know if I like the car?
Yeah.
They're like, well, we can't let you do it. I was like, well, then I'll just leave.
See ya.
Yeah. That was it. I just left. I was like,
right.
What? And my stepdad did the same thing when he was looking for his car. He went to look at a Mitsubishi Evolution. And he went there, and they were like, well, we can't let you drive it, but you can drive the Lancer, which is the same body but completely different engine and transmission.
Yeah.
And he's like, but that's what I want. I need to know if I like it. And they're like, well, just imagine that, but faster. He's like,
sure.
Okay, goodbye.
Yeah.
Like, imagine this car, but that's like if you went to get your Camaro, and they're like, we have a 4-cylinder. You're like, cool, that's
not what I want.
That's not what I want. All right, Jeremiah, end us. Well, hold on. Before you end us off, I want to say thank you. Oh, someone else jumped in at the end. Thank you, Droop Dog, and now Audacia.
Yeah.
For listening in.
Awesome.
No comments.
Yeah.
Next time, jump in. I feel like we've seen Droop Dog in here before, but
oh yeah.
If you're not bots, go ahead and drop in the chat, and I'll let Jeremiah end us off.
All right. Yeah. We'd love to hear from you. But yeah, thanks for stopping by. So that was episode 20 of Zero Intentions Podcast. We made it to 20. Look at that. So as always, if you want to see any of our old shows. They're all on YouTube.
Courtesy of Jeremiah.
Yeah, I get around to it eventually.
Are they all on there right now?
They are, yeah.
19?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't made thumbnails for all of them, so
That's all right.
got pretty lazy there after the first batch. And it's what I chose to do with that is it's pretty time consuming to go
It's
out
awesome, though. They look
and
great.
get all of the images. So I'm like,
They look great.
man. And the problem is, it's like I'm busy all day Saturday, the next day that we, because we finally do this on Friday night, busy all day Saturday. So
We can always switch these days. If
no,
you wanna do Thursday.
I'm fine with that. Like, what my schedule's, pretty open other than my Saturdays.
Well, we've seen this as movable, so
Yeah,
if anything
yeah.
pops up, it's movable.
So I'm just making excuses right now as to why I'm lazy.
Listen,
So by
Jeremiah owns a rocket company. All right, he's been to Mars 4 times this week, so he's got things to do.
Yeah. So anyway, so all of our videos are over there on YouTube. So go in over there, do what you're supposed to do, subscribe, like
Hit
the
that like
videos,
button.
comment, share, all that good stuff, and greatly appreciate it. Again, like I said, leave some comments. We'd love to hear from you. Give us some topics that you'd want to have us talk about, or if you jump in the chat and during the live stream, we don't have any script. I mean,
We'll butcher history. We'll butcher everything.
Very name of the podcast is Zero Intention. So yeah, we can pivot into anything that you want to talk about. So
We can make it from the Holocaust to test driving cars. Watch us do it.
There it is.
Watch
You can
us
follow the
do it.
path. We
Yeah.
did it. We did it today. So once again, thank you for joining, for watching, for supporting us. We really appreciate it.
I kind of appreciate it. We're having these conversations anyway.
Exactly.
You don't like it, it's happening.
Right. Yeah. So
Try and cancel
even
us.
though
We are on the internet. We're here to stay.
Yes, and as I always say, like I love offending people, and we do a lot of offensive comments. At least I do. I mean, they're primarily from me. I will say that. Like,
Here, I'll give you one. Fuck Chinese government. We love the Chinese people.
There you go. Yeah, it's a throwback from last week, but the sentiment
It's a staple
still stands.
now. Yeah,
Yes.
sentiment forever.
It's a strong stand.
Your
right
government
there.
sucks. We love you people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, anyway, so that's it for episode 20. And again, we hit some offensive topics this week, and but as we always say, if you're going to be offended, then we suggest you zip it.
Right. Unless you're trying to bring it on. Let's go
Yeah.
head to head with the Chinese government.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, folks. We'll roll the ending. One of these days, we'll get a better computer.
Someday.
Wish I could just upgrade the CPU, but good old ThinkPad. All right. Thanks, folks.